Welcome to the radio/video of Perspectives from the Sky. We meet every other week, and we began at the end of the year last year. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I knew it was a big transition time coming up. The Trump presidency gone, new presidency coming in at a really good time because the winter solstice brought us a Jupiter conjunct Saturn conjunction at 0+ degrees of Aquarius. And for me, that was further proof that we're definitely moving into the Age of Aquarius. And I kind of told everybody ahead of time that doesn't mean that all of a sudden, there's fireworks and everybody's dancing in the streets singing Kumbaya to one another. That's not how these things work. It's like we shifted into a new cycle, a new chapter, but there's a lot that has to be done in the beginnings of anything that's just been started, including and foremost letting go of the past, because we are moving into a new age. And I know a lot of you know, this is from the day you're born, parents and culture want to program you. They want to program you so that you will fit in to the system. And of course, the price to pay for not fitting into the system can be mental institutions and jail, or just not being able to make a living. So there's a select group of people who, even knowing that from a practical level, still say the most important thing is to self-actualize, is to actually be who you came here to be. And nothing's more important than that. I kind of lean in that direction. Everybody's got a destiny, and only those that actually self-actualize become a part of what their destiny is. Most everyone else just says, okay, well, culture, authority figures, whoever's there, just tell me what to do, and that's what I'm doing. Of course, in certain situations, that's a good thing to do. It's an ego problem if you can't do that in certain situations. But overall, self-actualization. Okay, to give you an example, Carl Jung wrote that, I don't know the exact percentage, like 1/10 or 1/100th of 1% of people actually do self-actualize. Everyone else is pretty much in the sheep category. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just mean that that's kind of normal for people to do, and that's what a lot of people do. But I know the people that are going to be on the air today, and I know a lot of the listeners are not that person that's automatically programmed. Instead, they're one of a large group of us, which is always processing. How do we let go of the old programming and open ourselves up to the new programming, and open up to the new world, the new consciousness? And because we're moving into an Age of Aquarius, that means we are moving in, or have been moving into, a new consciousness, a consciousness that fits in to what the Age of Aquarius is meant to be. And sometimes that means struggles, because we'll do things at first, still doing them the way we've been told or taught to do them. And then when things don't go well, like we're not happy, or jobs don't stay, we start feeling like our heart really isn't into our life, these are the times that usually there's breakdowns in our lives that help us to release the past and embrace who we really are and what we came here to do. All of that has been accelerated because we have just entered this new age. And so I know you've noticed what I've been noticing. Have you noticed how many people, like famous people, are dying? That not like this. It seems like one after another after another. And even more obvious is the amount of mass murders that are happening, especially over the last few weeks. Have you noticed that? So it tells me that there's a lot of people who are leaving at this time, that they don't, or their maker doesn't feel that they're right for this new consciousness and this new age. Well, that's not true in all cases of people that have died, but it is, in a general sense, probably true. So this show is dedicated to the changing of consciousness to move into an age of Aquarius. So we have 3 guests tonight, and lucky me, they're all female. Lauren Perot will be on, and she is a psychic in the New England area. We've got Trish Brady, who is, well, you say like, you say Renaissance man? She'd be more like a Renaissance woman. Different talents and things like that. Not she doesn't drop herself in a box. She keeps herself open to who she is and who she's growing into. And Lauren is a psychic in New England. I think I said that, but I want to say that again because she is, from all I've heard, an excellent psychic and medium. And then our third guest is very familiar to me, and that's my wife, Deborah Tallarico, and she's been on a few times on our show, so I'm sure you all know her. Some of you know her anyway from before this show ever started. So let's take a look at some of the astrology going on now. And remember, I've told everybody since I started the show that since it's the changing of this consciousness, part of the changing of the consciousness of the paradigm is beginning to see like how we have been through the years, how we started as a human family with a different lens. So for instance, when you start seeing that aliens, extraterrestrials have been here for centuries, that alone shifts everything in your mind. I know I've read a lot of Zecariah Sitchen. His first book was The 12th Planet. And he was doing research. He's a PhD researcher kind of guy. And he researched Sumeria, the ancient civilization that came before Egypt, actually. And he found that they had, in their writings, there were like rocket ships all over the walls. And he's thinking to himself, well, maybe they just have a great imagination, but not the way these things look. They look like real spaceships. So he dug further, did more investigations, and he felt there was enough proof to state that there was these people from this other planet with a very irregular orbit. And it takes like 3,600 years to make a revolution around our sun. So it's way out there, and then it comes way in and makes that meeting every 3,600 years. And what happened with them is, this is the story that he believes. And I resonate that something in this is true, though I don't take it to the literal exact place. But he says that they came here to the Earth because the resources they had on their planet were not very plentiful anymore. There was gold down here and some other resources. And they wanted to dig them up and bring them back to their planet because they would be very helpful in the survival of their planet. Well, when he got down here to do all the work and dig out all these minerals and fortunes, he found that the people here, we're talking a couple million years ago now, okay? Talking about what was here was not intelligent enough to help him. They had big, strong shoulders to do a lot of the work, but the intelligence level was low in their estimation. What did they do? They created us, a hybrid. Part from the gods and goddesses, the heavens, and part from the earth, and joined. And even if you look at the Bible, there's a paragraph in there or a couple sentences in there. I don't remember the exact quote, paraphrasing. When the gods from above meet with the daughters of the earth, it creates a new world, something along those lines. So for me, there's a resonance with this in there somewhere. Us coming from the stars, that definitely resonates with me, that a part of us does. And we'll have more guests on in time that talk more about that. So the paradigm is definitely shifting, and opening our minds to these other ways of looking at how we got here is a good way of getting our consciousness into a new place. Here's a few things that I know. part of this change in consciousness, a big part of the change in consciousness, is a moving more to the feminine. And it's really funny about the feminine. I'm going to do it this way. They used to think the world was flat. Then all of a sudden they saw that the world was round. Flat, linear, with an ending. The ending is you go over the side. Round, cycles, cycles, cycles. That's the feminine. The masculine is linear, straight, beginning and end. Look at the equipment we have as men and women. You can see that it backs that up. Circles and round, straightforward. The feminine is getting stronger, and people are getting more and more connected to the knowledge that cycles are what are the greatest thing in this universe. One of the greatest things. Cycles. There are no real endings with cycles. You just go around. Then what a lot of people believe is you go around, but then another time around you spiral up. And then you spiral up. I don't know for sure. But again, I kind of lean toward believing some of that is true. But definitely the feminine has a more important place. And you can see it out in the world just in general. And, you know, the old patriarchal, I'm not really like activist around anti-patriarchy, but I'm just saying, from a detached place, you know, the patriarchy has run its time, and it's time to move on to something new. Hopefully, it's not a matriarchy though, because then, you know, it's the same game in reverse. Hopefully, what we develop this time, it's what I believe, because it's what Aquarius is we develop into two equal entities and energies. No archies. I do believe that pretty firmly. Now let's talk about the next few weeks before we take on our guests tonight. So the election came. Biden, Kamala Harris were elected. Shift into Aquarian age began. And they alone, they kind of hold some of the cards for the new world. One is, I was talking about diversity within unity. That's right there. Even just the president and the vice president have some of that, the diversity. That'll continue. There's talk of socialism. That's going to get stronger. I don't think we're going to turn into a totally socialistic country, but I think we're going to become socialistic enough so that the monetary system is equitable. And that would mean that certain peoples who've been kept out of money will have open doors to them, like minorities have been kept out. So these things are already changing. However, at the same time, Biden and Kamala Harris represent the old world pretty clearly. Pretty clearly. And so we're gonna need to move beyond what they represent too before very long. And we will be doing that. We are doing that. One of the ways that they're connected to the past, or at least President Biden is there are a lot of neocons in the administration. You know, the neocons were in the Bush administration, Obama administration, Clinton administration, and they're the ones who like believe that the United States should be like taking over a lot of the world. And some of those are in the Biden campaign. And the reason I bring that up is because we have a lot of really intense energies coming up over the next few months. The United States Mars, from its natal chart of July 4th, 1776, the United States Mars is being touched off and triggered. There was a Mars return just about a week or two ago. And then more importantly, in June, there'll be a solar eclipse, new moon, in Gemini. That's only about 1.5 degrees away from being conjunct the United States Mars in its natal chart. And I've done a lot of research going back to World War II, assassinations that have happened in this country, and have seen that the United States Mars is triggered almost every time. So with that said, I can tell you that there are going to be some big changes coming up in this spring, early summer, especially summer, around August. The charts of Iran, Israel, and the United States are all triggered during that time period. So I really expect things to happen that way. Before you freak out, remember that this transformation into a new age is not just about click your fingers. What is it? Dorothy did that in the Wizard of Oz. She's a lot of, I don't know, one of them. Click your fingers and you move into what you want that you're making a wish of. Sure, I guess that's possible, but that's not what's happening here. We're not going to be snapping our fingers and moving into a new world. There's a lot of inner work to do. And that's one of the good things about this virus that's been here. People have been forced to do more inner work because they weren't able to, like, well, some people are congregating anyway, but most people have been watching it, social distance masks and stuff like that. So let me tell you more about the energies that are coming up, and then we're going to bring on our first guest in just a few minutes. So this is what's going on. So there's the virus. The virus is beginning to be dealt with the vaccinations and everything, although it's kind of kicking and screaming before it gives up. New strains and things like that they talk about. But somehow I believe, that before this year is out, we're gonna be on the other side of it. Not meaning there's no more cases of it, but just meaning it's not going to take over our world. But here's some other things that we need to know. Remember, the United States has Pluto in its natal chart at 27 degrees of Capricorn in its second house. That was an easy read for me. That is the military-industrial complex that has run the United States and a lot of the world for many years. Just take a look. Corporations and military police. That's where the power is. In the United States, that's where the power is in the world. And in order for us to progress into an age of Aquarius, that military-industrial complex is going to need to crumble. That doesn't mean America needs to crumble. America needs to come back to a time when it wasn't a superpower, where it wasn't like seeing itself above in value, everyone and everything else. So that's part of the shifting of the consciousness in this country. Some of the values that are coming through our Constitution and Bill of Rights are just wonderful, wonderful, almost from heaven dropped to us. But have we lived up to it? At times. At times we've had this diversity within unity, everyone's equal, power to the people. We've had brief spells of that. But overall, it's still, and unless the military-industrial complex crumbles, it's going to be the military police and the corporations run our lives. So as we move into this year, in order for the military-industrial complex to fold, there has to be changes and shifts around the economy and around our military around the world. So a lot that's going to happen this spring is going to speak very loudly in that direction. At the same time that this is happening, the world of magic is opening up everywhere. It's not about doom and gloom. It's about let's let go of the past. Let's let go of how it used to be that's not fair and right and not aligned with the Age of Aquarius. Magic is everywhere, synchronicities. Look for signs and clues from the universe to see where you might need to go or what you might need to do. That magic is a big, important piece of this new world we're moving into. I'll get into it other times more about the actual Aquarian age dynamics, besides the ones I've already expressed. We'll get more into that. And make sure I've got nothing else to say right now. Oh yeah. So around the war stuff, that's Taiwan. That one's on the precipice. Taiwan with China. Ukraine with Russia. And then Iran with Israel and the United States. So these are the ones you want to look at during this next season. And those are the ones that will also be transforming ourselves and how we look at ourselves and other countries. So we can fit more into the Age of Aquarius consciousness and thinking. Well, let's bring on Ms. Lauren Perot. And I'm not sure exactly what she's going to tell us. We're going to find out real shortly. Let's bring her on. There we are. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Is there an echo at all, or is it okay?
I don't hear an echo from here. Do you hear it?
I don't think I do. I think we're good. I think I'm hearing a lot of different things all at one time. So maybe I'm hearing echoes of other dimensions.
Yes.
To you, and I'm like,
have you noticed, Lauren, how inner dimensions have been opening up more over the last few months? Seems to me like the veil that sits between this world and the inner world seems to be lifting somehow. Do you have a sense of that too?
Mm-hmm. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about the veil between this world and the inner world shifting, but then the veil between this world and other worlds as well. And so as I was listening to you, I was really, I was experiencing like surging energy as I was listening to you share.
Yes.
And I was noticing, and this is something that, oh good, the echo's gone, some folks are saying, but something I was thinking about was that in a lot of my work with clients recently and just in sessions and things, people are kind of flocking to these conversations, I've noticed, because those who maybe haven't been in this type of conversation so regularly in their lives suddenly are experiencing things, but not really understanding what context to put them in.
Right.
So to me, it's like because the veil between the outer world and the inner world is shifting, but then also as that's breaking down, the veil between this dimension and other dimensions is also, or at least the channel is opening. And so it feels like this big surge. It just feels like this huge surge. That's
say more about the other dimensions that aren't just about inner and outer. Tell people more about what you mean by these other dimensions.
So I can't remember if it was something you said just as I was listening to you now, or if it was something I heard you speaking about on a different show, but about how, we talk about like, there's this word alien, or this word sort of extraterrestrial, or these words that we have that kind of come with stigmas, and they come with all kinds of, ideas of what that means. But that if we consider that actually, as human beings, we're limited as far as what channels we can tune into, on the grand dial of all things.
Yes.
Right? Like we tune our little tuner and we can pick up certain things, but that doesn't mean that there aren't frequencies between those areas where we pick up. Yes. And to me, that's what I understand the dimensions to be. And so I understand as a human being that I can pick up on, a couple of dimensions, maybe a couple of extra, because I'm a little more open than maybe others might be.
Yes.
But there's so many dimensions, and that as a human being, I'm not necessarily meant to flow all of that. I'm not meant to necessarily pick up all of that and understand it.
Well, we're certainly not taught how to do that. That's for sure.
Right. And it's there. Yes. So I think that, what I've been feeling, I have so many responses to so much of what you've just said, but that I'm seeing in myself and I'm seeing in others that what is happening on the macro level, like on the planet macro. And then we also have like, out in the universe, but at least like on the, from the planetary earthly perspective, what's happening in the macro is happening. And you and I have talked about this on the micro, in people's individual lives, and then inside of themselves too. And so that's kind of what I'm noticing is there's this way of saying, oh, well, the world's out there and I'm over here and I'm separate.
That's really interesting because also the whole idea of the aliens, that's what you were starting to say before, the aliens and the extraterrestrials. One of the people that I've read, had on my old radio show many years ago, a man named John Mack, and I've mentioned him on the air before, Dr. Mack from Boston. And he had heard that, about these abductions that were happening from people. He was a psychiatrist, and so he believed they were all kind of loony, but he went out and interviewed them all anyway. Came back after interviewing from all different parts of the country and found out, no, they weren't loony at all. They actually had the experience. But he added, I think the experience for many of these people was on another plane of existence, was on an inner dimension. Not necessarily did they actually land in his backyard physically.
Yeah. And I think there's lots of different ways that you can expand your, dimensional awareness, right? So some are just in practices and some are with some people do that with substances. Some people do that with, rituals. Some people just kind of have that ability.
Yes.
Anybody who has experienced more than just the three-dimensionalness, you can kind of, there's a way in which you get to a comfort level with, I don't know. And I'm okay that I don't know. And there's a lot that I don't know that I don't know. And so therefore, okay, I have to say though, that as you were speaking about what's coming in June, I felt really, I noticed in myself, and I wonder if others feel this, but I noticed in myself a feeling of like a fear came up.
Yeah, that would be natural.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
But then as I had that fear, I heard that it's really important, that was important for me to say, and just as you said too, that it's for like whatever this is that's coming, that's mounting, that we've all been feeling. And we've talked about many times, there's sort of like this sort of crescendos, and we're like, is this the peak? No, this isn't the peak yet. Okay. But we're going to kind of, and then we're going to crescendo again. And then, and yet the vision, the message that I get, and I think what helps me kind of sleep at night, honestly, is that I know that we're moving in a direction of enlightenment.
That's right.
And it's not easy work.
Mm-mm. No, it's not easy work at all. And that's why I always tell people, and I know you do too, you really got to have a meditation practice of some sort in order to start getting the feeling of what those other dimensions are. Also to feel like there's a home inside that I can go to. And there's all sorts of fears out in the world. I can meditate and go down to this soft, calm space inside myself. I feel like I'm at home and I'm safe.
Yeah.
So meditation always at the top of the list. Yeah.
The other thing about that too, that I get is that to remind people, to remind myself, and to remind everybody that it's not that this is what I get. It's not that something new is coming. It's that we are just emerging into what always has been. That's what I get. That what's shifting is not necessarily what actually is present, but what's shifting is our ability to discern it, to be able to understand it, and to be able to like consciously see it. And I think in some ways that's why it's exciting. Like it's exciting for so many of us.
Exactly.
But for others who maybe haven't been so present in this conversation,
it's
it can
scary.
Feel right.
Yeah, it's really true.
Yeah.
But it's like if you take our human family back to all sorts of other times, there's always challenges for being a human being. I mean, my grandparents went through like World War I, a depression, and World War II. Oh my God. imagine. But yet there were a lot of good things about that don't exist now. Like people were closer to one another. Next door neighbors would come over to your house and bring over a basket of fruit.
Right.
It's like we're so distant from one another now. And back then, even during the hard times, we had connections with one another.
Yeah. And the other thing, as you were speaking about the virus, that I felt compelled to say was that the virus is, I want to be really specific about how I say this, because it's devastating. It's devastating to human beings, and it's caused, suffering and devastation and fear and and there's a way in which, through its mechanism, was to force us inward, to force us home, and to whatever home meant at that time. And for so many of us, I think, to confront the ways in which home wasn't comfortable.
Yes, that's definitely been faced down lately. Yes.
And in that work of you're forced inward, you're forced home, you're forced to have to be in what's actually happening, in your life, you're forced to actually be in what's happening. It's also, I think, caused a desire for connection.
Yes.
Real connection.
That's right.
Valuable connection. I know that for me.
Yes, and I see it all around me with people. Yeah, absolutely the truth. And that takes us back to what happened, years and years ago with our ancestors, and how they learned how to, not learned, it was natural for them to seek out people to commune with and to share what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're leading towards, we're going to have more of that also.
Mm-hmm.
I really do believe that.
Me too.
If the next time that you come on, and would you be able to, I don't know anything about it, so just tell me, would you be able to if someone called in, or even I said, would you contact someone on the other side?
Yeah.
Would you be okay to do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Good. I'm going to let you go today. I'm really glad you came on today. And just as I was telling you, and for my guests to know, Lauren will be back.
Thanks, Leo. Nice
Take
to
care of
see
yourself.
you.
Nice to see you too. Bye, Lauren.
Bye.
And did that move you? Oh,
still here.
Let's see if now it moved you. And next we have coming on, without any further ado.
I think I'm back.
Is it back? I know why I came back.
Maybe there's something else I had to say. I don't know.
Now you're the only one. There we go. Okay. Trish Brady, who's been on before, and she's going to come on. And well, I'll let her say what she's going to do. But let's bring her on.
Hi, Leo.
Brady, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good.
So, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you wrote to me. There's something you wanted to talk about that actually got a lot to do with the Aquarian age too.
Well, actually, I made some notes while you were talking that I thought were interesting. That, when you were talking about self-actualization, I thought there may be somebody who's like, "What does that really mean?" It's like a term that you yeah, I want that, but what does it mean? So I actually looked up the definition from the dictionary. So it's the realization or fulfillment of our talents or potentialities. And the definition of magic, which I really like, is the mysterious quality of enchantment. So those things to bring into your life, magic, and self-actualization.
Exactly.
Really open you up. But I think what's important to understand is that if you change your perception, you will change your emotional response. So you can recontextualize your perception. You can have a completely different emotional response. And we talk so much about fear, but what if you thought about the things that you're afraid of instead of like the fear aspect of it, which is truth and honesty, and you have to be truthful for what you're afraid of. But what does it require to overcome fear? Bravery. So if you think like, instead of fearing something, and we know what that energy of fear feels like. We know what it feels like in our body.
Yeah.
And it makes us behave in patterned ways that feel safe, which is part of the program, because you're afraid. But if you actually thought to yourself, recontextualize your perception, so got a different emotional response, that I'm going to be brave, suddenly it makes you want to stand up tall. And it's like, it's not about fear anymore. So it's more, it's more about like, wow, what would if I have a choice to be afraid or be brave, I'm going to choose to be brave. If I have that in my awareness, like, even if like in self-actualization, it's something some talents or potentials that you felt that you had in yourself, but you're afraid of. And, whatever excuse, and whatever excuse you make about having that fear. But if you think, I don't really care so much what the outcome's going to be. I want to be brave to at least try something that I feel that I have a potential to be good at, or a potential to enjoy.
Yes.
So, I just thought that was worth it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. All of that, without a doubt. And it's like the difference between, in some ways, seeing the glass as half empty or half full too. Like when you take something on as a challenge, to get better, to help out the world more, it shifts everything inside, and you do have to have a glass half full to be able to do that.
Yeah.
If your glass is half empty,
you're afraid.
You're too afraid, to do anything.
Yeah, it's almost like in the analogy of the glass half empty or half full. If you have the perception of the glass is half empty, you're afraid to lose more. It's like, I got this half. I know it. I want to keep it. I want to keep it nice and safe. So I don't want any kind of challenges to myself, because I don't want to lose what I think I already have. When this
is one of the problems that people have when it comes to finances too.
Yeah.
A lot of people go through thinking of like lack, like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. And I understand. I've been there before myself.
Yeah.
But by the same token, if you see it in a different light, like, I'm moving into and growing in whatever profession I'm doing or whatever else I'm doing, and it's equal. When I take it in my mind this way, giving out and taking in, it's like breathing in and breathing out. It's just kind of natural. Abundance is based on that.
Yeah,
but we're taught differently. We're taught to be scared to death that we're gonna die, or we're gonna be broke, or we're not gonna be able to eat. Can't believe how many people have told me in the past about how they see themselves carrying a shopping cart, in the future. Don't picture that. My God, don't do that to yourself.
Well, it's like if you're conceptualizing in your mind and you're making choices based on fear and lack, you're just going to create, a world of fear and lack. If you make choices if you just just change your perception to make choices from a place of abundance and love, that you already have what you want, your choices are going to be different. Yeah, and your energy is going to raise, and your vibration is going to be higher, and you're going to attract more of what you want in your life, and just be more open. And we are taught to be afraid with like religion and politics, and we're afraid. We're not taught to be brave. We're not taught to confront a challenge with the potentiality of magic. We're not taught that. And that is kind of when we start to awaken out of and have the realization of our own programming, and how understanding where that comes from. It's nobody's fault. It was just, and then when you kind of start taking those pieces, it's like, I feel like right now we're kind of all in a phase where we've opened the closet, we've taken everything out of the closet out, whether it's personally from the COVID isolation that a lot of us have done, when we're so busy, we just shove it in the closet. We'll deal with it later. And then we had this time period where it was time to deal with that, and everything came out of the closet. And I think politically and globally, a lot of things have come out of the closet, and it's going to be probably, like what I hear you saying, a turbulent time of weeding out what is no longer working.
Right, and they're cleaning out everything in the closet. I don't know about you, or I think some of my listeners might agree that that last new moon kind of did exactly that. It brought this
That was a powerful one.
Yeah, brought out a lot of force, energy of force, but at the same time, there were things to move through. It wasn't like a usual Aries new moon. You just, okay, well, the new moon happens. Okay, this is where I'm going. This is how I'm going to get there. And this one had all the different issues working through.
Yeah, it really felt
just go straight forward.
Like that figure eight that you sometimes do with things that were moving in and out and clearing out. I felt this past new moon very powerfully, and it really felt fresh. But it wasn't that the last full moon was a difficult one for me. So that period in between, it was almost like a relief to get to this kind of new energy that I feel like we're in now.
Yes.
And your previous guest, Lauren, I was really interested in listening to. And lately I've been kind of seeing things. Not just seeing things sounds kind of crazy, but my peripheral vision, like I think when you talk about the veil being thinner, that has a meaning that looks different for a lot of us. Sometimes it can be through dreams, sometimes it can be in a meditation, hearing something. But lately for me, it's been almost like I've had to look peripherally a lot because I'm seeing movement.
Oh, yes.
And I like it. It doesn't scare me. I like it. But it keeps me sort of awakened, like the awareness that there are other dimensions.
Right. And I think a lot of people that I've been talking to have had a similar experience over the last several days and weeks, that they can sense something else in the room with them.
Yeah.
And it, like they never did before. They never had it. That's part of those veils. Veils being thinner. And that's exciting. And that's part of the magic too.
It's kind of the magic. Yeah, the mysterious quality of enchantment. It's kind of being open to, like, if you're listening to this program and if you're doing this, if you're open-minded and you're doing this kind of work that kind of gets you to this place, this is part of what the desired outcome of it is. It's not like just polishing the dirt. It's not polishing the program so that you're better at them. It's letting them go, which brings us, which brings new things. And so to not be afraid, to feel, something you can get through meditation too is to, and I really believe this, and I'm practicing it for myself right now with some of the fears of the unknown that we all have in our personal lives, instead of trying to control them or manipulate them in a way that the outcome is going to be desired in the way you think you want, of just being brave and trusting sort of the whole self to guide you.
That's opening up a whole can of worms that I don't have time for today, because then we're talking about higher self too, and how we can hang on to the higher self during which is one of the things you were planning to talk about, but we got sidetracked. But it was in a good way. So let me just finish up our little segment saying that this new moon was more important than most new moons, just like you felt it, everybody, how intense it is. And that's why a lot of people have been dying and things like that, or people freaking out and having these mass murders. It's because there's this sense, which is true, that we really are and have now moved into this new chapter of our lives. And there's no turning back.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And, I like the word brave, like there's a lot of positive energy with like being brave, and any kind of challenge that we, have to face, we have to be brave in it. Not,
I'm glad you're using that word, because, people don't usually use that word with women. And I think that's, even when I was a kid, how stupid is this that men are brave and women, whatever.
Oh, I think it
everyone has the needs to be brave during tough times.
Well, it's funny because you were talking earlier about the feminine, and there's been a lot of talk about the feminine. And if you think of it's not a masculine word. It's not it doesn't have any connotation that way. But if you think of when I sort of feel in my heart what it feels like to be brave, it makes me stand up straight. And how attractive is somebody when they have good posture? It's not something that being brave means you're kind of manly. It just kind of means you're confident.
No, not at all. That was just old programming.
Yeah, and
boxes that men and women are put into.
Yeah.
Ridiculous boxes. And I'm glad those are changing too. I got to let you go.
Oh, okay.
So we will see Trish again. Hey, everybody, the feminine is back. Isn't it in a wonderful way? Our last two guests. And the one coming up next, who happens
Yay.
to be
Thank
my wife
you,
and positive. Yes. Till next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh. Hello.
Yes, you are. There you are. Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Learning the tricks. This radio. So now I think I see Deborah. There she is. And Deborah's going to talk to us today about a few things, but most importantly about the Wesak full moon that's coming up. A lot of people believe that the Buddha was born at a Wesak full moon. So it's a pretty strong and important full moon. I'll let Deborah tell you more about it. Deb, you ready to come on? Yes? Okay. You're on the air.
No one can see me though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you, but maybe everyone else can. Let's see.
It says on air, but my picture's not there. Well,
I'll fool around with it when you talk up.
I'll just begin talking. I just wanted to say hi to everybody while Leo's trying to get me on. So hello, everyone out there. And unfortunately, I wasn't here during the rest of the show because I was in an actual priestess training. So, but what I gather is you were talking about the balance of both. And I don't know if it was a masculine and feminine, but in my training I just came out of, we were focused on receiving a ceremony with Isis and Osiris and the marriage of the masculine and feminine. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know exactly what was covered here today, but that's what we did. So I'm happy to be here. And I just want to just bring into our awareness, I'm sure most of you know that this week we have our Earth Day on Thursday. There we are. On Thursday, the 22nd. And I just want to encourage people to really, on that day, to really connect with the earth and just really align yourself with the earth, walk barefoot, just, honor Mother, Father Earth, say your prayers of gratitude to the earth, and anything you can do to just really honor that sacred day. And then next Monday, a week from Monday, which is the April 26th at 8:31 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So I guess that would be 11:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is the exact moment of the Wesak full moon. And so I'm going to talk about the Wesak full moon. Some of you probably already know about that. Some of you may not. But the Wesak full moon is considered by many to be the most powerful full moon of the year. And it's always when the moon is in Scorpio and the sun in Taurus. And it is the time when many believe that the Buddha was born, attained enlightenment, and left earthly incarnation. So, and it's a time every year when the enlightened ones, the saints, the bodhisattvas, the enlightened masters, the emissaries come back to the earth to bring tremendous light, to pour light down. And how it got its name, Wesak, was it's a place, Wesak Valley in the Himalaya Mountains in Tibet is where initiates, spiritual initiates, light workers, people on a spiritual path, they join together and they have this gathering. And the gathering, can last up to a week. And for those of you that know me, I've been part of the Divine University for the last 11 or 12 years. And every year we do a big Wesak ceremony and workshop leading up to it. So it's considered the spiritual new year in some traditions. In other traditions, it's at Imbolc, but in some traditions, it is at this time of the Wesak full moon. And it's a time of heightened spiritual energy. It's a time where we end the old spiritual year. We release our old contracts we might have had spiritually on our path. And we bring in and we make commitments for our new contracts. We receive our new contracts for the new spiritual year ahead. And I just want to talk more about there's a preparation time, then the day of the full moon, and then the days after. So the days leading up to the full moon, the Wesak full moon, the 3 days leading up to the Wesak full moon are called the days of approach and preparation. And that's the time for all the spiritual initiates or any of us that want to honor this time to really spend time on the inner planes with yourself in meditation and just contemplation of the passing year, what's spiritual contracts might be ending, and just having this time for purifying yourself, cleansing, meditating a lot, and just preparing yourself for the full moon. And then the day of the full moon is actually considered the most auspicious day because it is the day when the Buddha the light's intensified. So leading up to this, you're preparing. And then that day you're preparing even more leading up to the exact moment. And then I'm going to say a little bit more about the ceremony. And then for the 2 days after the Wesak full moon, it's called the days of distribution. And that's where you take all the light, all the energy that you've received from the full moon, and you distribute it. You pass it on. You share it with the world, because a lot of the Wesak full moon is really connected to helping humanity and the earth at this time on the earth to evolve and to bring blessings to the world and to humanity. So
the Earth Day coming around the same time. That's kind of wonderful, isn't it? The way that's happening.
Yes, yes, it's very close, and it is a time when the Buddha and the Christ come together. The Buddha bringing the wisdom, the Christ bringing the love, and I like to bring in, Buddha and Kuan Yin, so it's the masculine and the feminine that bring in the wisdom and the compassion, and then Christ and Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. That Christ lineage, all that lineage, and Isis would be bringing in the love vibration from that lineage, and those come together. And the most potent part of the whole ceremony or gathering, the week, is the 8 minutes before and after the exact moment of the full moon. And in the Wesak Valley, the initiates form a pentagram, a five-pointed star, which is symbolic of Venus and the world soul. And they also have on their altar, they have water, and they do a sacred water pouring, which is symbolic of the Age of Aquarius that we've entered now. And after the ceremony, they pass out the water for the initiates to drink or take home with them. So it's this whole preparation and very sacred ceremony, and the light coming in and the water being blessed, and then the focus of, you know, our path of service to humanity and the earth and the Aquarian age and the new earth that we're birthing together is really a huge focus of the Wesak full moon. And then releasing our old spiritual contracts and, you know, bringing in our new spiritual contracts for the coming year ahead. So,
are you doing any ceremony for people that are really interested in experiencing this Wesak full moon?
well, often I do, but I've also for the last many years been involved with the Divine University's Wesak, and they have an amazing ceremony that you can find out about by just going to the Divine University /Wesak. And you can find out about that. But I, this year, I'm not sure I'm going to do anything. I might next year, but I'm definitely going to be sending out in our newsletter a lot of details about the preparation, the day, and the days after. So if any of you are not already on our emailing list and you would like to receive more information about the Wesak full moon and how you can prepare for that day, you can just go to www.spiritualrenaissance.com and that's spiritualrenaissance.com, or you can go to Gaia Sophia templeoftheheart.com, which is my website, and you can sign up for our newsletter so you can receive all the information, details, preparation. There'll be prayers there that you can use in your own sacred space, or you can also sign up for the Divine University full moon ceremony. Yes.
It was good to have you on today.
Yes. Thank you all, and have a wonderful Wesak and Earth Day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'd like to bring Lauren on again so she can give out some information about herself that people can contact her if they're interested. So let me get you back here, Lauren. Yes. Let me bring you back.
Hi. I'm glad I stayed. I'm just seeing me, but that's okay. I'm not seeing.
That's the way I want it right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. So it's nice to see Deborah and to listen to your guest before. Was it Trisha or Trish?
Trish.
Loved hearing her speak. So thank you so much. People can contact me. It's connectwithlauren.com, LAUREN, connectwithlauren.com. And I do one-on-one work with people. I'm a psychic medium, clairvoyant, or I also do group sessions twice a month that are capped at 20 people. And those are pretty much mediumship. So connecting with people on the other side, loved ones and things. And it's always a wonderful experience. So those happen twice a month, and the individual sessions are anytime. So people can connect with me that way. Thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Lauren. And you'll be back. People will be able to experience you some more on this show too, which will be really nice.
I'd love it. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself.
You too. See you soon.
So, unbelievably, we are wrapping time. It's about 2 minutes too. Our next show will be on 24th. On the 3rd. There is no 31 in April, so it'll be on the 1st of May. Will be the next, and you know what the show's about, and we'll have some of our regulars. We'll have new guests. We'll get a little more into. We're always going to be into the astrology, and we're going to get a little more into the aliens by bringing on some people who actually say they've been abducted. In the future, I'd also like to bring on some people who've had near-death experiences so that they can share what they've gone through. So consciousness is changing, and we're going to be right on top of it here at Perspectives from the Sky. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.